Okay, now we're going to take a look at entering items in the actual estimate. We'll go to the roof again. Overview of the estimate section. We've already looked at the subsection. To the left is overview, which is similar to the other screens, has information and instructions concerning the rest of the tabs. Item entry is a main entry screen for entering the data item by item. Item review, we can look at the entry for the total section. Templates gives us an option for creating templates and also creating entries from a template. Insured list is a similar entry, but it's a one-way input from an insured submitted contents list. Then we have a copy of the price list on a class basis. In other words, building components or classes, as you can see here. And price factor, which serves several different functions, which we'll look at in a minute. We want to take a look now at actual entry of items into the estimate. We can do this on a section by section basis by using the buttons here, or we can go to the whole estimate with all the sections and then go through them using the record flip button up here. It may be best to use that for reviewing once you've finished. We'll go to the roof and we're going to add an item. We go to the entry screen. This is of course already been done, but this is a procedure you would use if you're working up an estimate one item at a time. We click the add button down here on the last row. That takes us up to our item selection screen. The items are entered on the basis of operation, class, and specifics. There's an operation, in this case, we'll say R&R for remove and replace. Roofing. Only the items which can be found under an R&R show up in the second class selection button. Once that's selected, it gives us a list of specifics. We're now in the Abakosti user price list, as you'll notice. It also has the option of manually adding items on the fly, and we'll look at that in a different video later. We go down to vent cover, click the plus button, and it enters it in the estimate. Next, we would enter a quantity, let's say 3, enter depreciation. Next, we have a field for recoverable depreciation. This should be automatically entered by the program based on your selection in the loss notice of whether the claim is an ACV or an RC policy. If it's an ACV, we'll get an N showing here. And if for some reason you want to document the loss but it's excluded by the policy, you can manually select the X, and the whole amount, including the ACV amount, which is shown here, will be excluded from the final claim. It will be documented, however. So let's go back, enter 3 here. One other set of items that we can look at is overhead, profit, and tax override. The default position is that overhead and profit, if shown up here, will be automatically applied to each item unless there's an override in here. Say there's a subcontract which is included in this section and we don't want it to have overhead and profit added, then we would select the ends there. In addition, there's a field for documenting the tax. The sales tax is automatically figured in the Craftsman price list, even though there's no Y indicator shown. All of the Abakosti price list items that you'll find here now have been entered as subcontract prices. Therefore, it is assumed that it's included in that price. If you have some item that you explicitly want to add sales tax to, you can override the default by entering a Y now here for yes. Some items such as materials and contents automatically enter a Y. There's also a place for entering the age of an item. This is for informational purposes only and doesn't enter into the calculations of the program, such as in calculating depreciation. There's also a field right here for entering remarks. This field is used as well for the Craftsman pricing. As you can see above, this is part of the descriptive and informational specifications of the Craftsman price list. Once this has been done, we can go over to the item review, check the entry, everything looks fine. But let's say we decide we want to use something from the Craftsman price list here. We go back to item entry. We can go back to this same entry. We can either erase it here. However, if the quantities you want to keep and the depreciation entry, you want to keep that, then you can just go back and overwrite this entry by clicking the plus button on the same item line. Yes, we want to replace it. Now we want to switch to the Craftsman price list. Once you click the Craftsman price list tab, you need to go to the operation, click and hold down, and the Craftsman list indication will come up. Touch it again, and then you scroll to your item, in this case replace. Roofing is already selected, so we look over to our specifics, and these are the specifics for replacing roofing in the Craftsman price list. We'll scroll down because we happen to know it's near the bottom. Roof vent. Let's say it's a turbine and we want to use it instead of the turtle, so we click the entry button and it's entered here. The rest of the information is retained. Let's go back and look for a second at the item selection screen. When you switch from one price list to the other, it's important, click the price list first, hold down for a second or so the button, and then the new user list indicator will come up. If you click too quickly, as we'll do here, it's not going to bring up that indicator. Instead, it's going to go to the previous price list operation. In that case, you have to click again, and the Craftsman list will come up. Let's look again at this. The Craftsman price list consists of two items. The first indicates the general category that, or what would be class in this case, or subclass perhaps, followed by the operation and other specifics. As we'll see if we go back by aborting and returning to the estimate, we see that that information is entered in what is otherwise a remarks section for the entry. You can then, if you want to, add remarks. The lookup of the pricing is based solely on the contents of this first field here. So you want to be careful about making any changes to that entry. You can, however, change it in some minor way, such as putting a punctuation mark at the end or an X or some similar change, which will prevent any further future lookup and change to the price. We'll go back again. And let's go over to the Abakosti user price list. We've got a place for manual entry. As indicated, there's a separate tutorial, brief tutorial that will show you how to enter items in that field there. Let's say we have remove. We can go down to remove, and we've got some remove pricing and some replace pricing. Most of the pricing in the Abakosti user price list has been set up for remove and replace. It is also user configurable in the price list itself, which we'll look at later. Let's go back. We now go over to the item review. Now let's take one other look. Let's add one other thing. Let's say we want to add furnace vent cap. And we enter it, and we forget to enter the quantities. We'll take a look at that. When we go over to the review, you'll see that the please input quantity indicator is shown. That'll show up if we were to go and review the print document. We see that that's going to show up, so it will show up in the PDF or the printed output, indicating that we've forgotten to enter that information. So we go back and do that, and it goes away. Notice that it's showing up in the last line. That's because the last line is not a entered item. It's waiting for the data to be entered. Okay, that's the overall individual item entry. One other thing, we can, if we wanted to, enter items directly from this screen. If you wanted to enter a new item, you would select the last line, click plus, go down to your selection. It will input the selection in the last line, but it'll do it on the item entry screen. And then you would have to enter your quantities, depreciation, etc. Go back to the review, and it's there. And there's a new line waiting for entry. If you want to delete it, you select the item first and then delete it. Incidentally, we can set this up so that you get a warning before deletion by going to the settings screen, system defaults, show delete warning before item deletion in the estimate section, estimate items tab. If you select yes, then we go back. It's going to give us a warning first. Do you want to delete it? If you want to cancel, cancel out. You want to continue with the script, you click continue. For most cases, I just leave it in the no button because it's simple enough to add an item back if you need to. Okay, what other, well, let's look at a couple of other things on the entry screen. As indicated earlier, the section takeoff items are set to automatically enter in the line items. This is based on a entry under the units column of SFC for square feet of ceiling or roof, SFF for square feet of floor, SFW for square feet of wall. We don't have that on this particular section. Or LFP, linear feet of perimeter. If that is entered in the units when the item is entered, it's going to pull the data from here and enter it in the quantity. If you find out that, let's say you've done that on a roof and we've only got 50% damage and policy conditions or instructions are just for a slope basis only replacement, and this represents one slope, then you select the 50%, go to quantity, and then click section SFC. Go down for replacing, do the same thing. Now, be sure and set that back when you're done with it. Okay, we'll go to the other section. Let's go to room, master bedroom section. And let's say we've got a charge here for painting plastered drywall. Notice we've got walls and ceilings entered here. I'm going to demonstrate how this is arrived at. Let's say we had just, as it indicates here, square feet of walls, and the program would have entered 442 feet for the square feet of walls. We can go select this item, click W and C, and it's going to total the square feet of walls, square feet of ceiling, input it here, and add walls and ceilings to our remarks section. Let's look at one other way to enter items from the price list. Let's say we wanted to put something in for fixing a door and cleaning it. It wasn't actually damaged to the point of needing painting or whatever, but we decide we want to find something for that. We can go over here to the price list. We're in the Craftsman price list. We're looking at doors. So this will have everything to do with doors: cleaning, fixing, repairing, replacing. So we can go down here. We see a cleaning door, jam. We can click it. It's going to enter the information. 17 feet, say, linear feet there. We go to the next item. Back to the price list. We go to clean doors, panel doors. No depreciation on those items. And then we've got one final thing we want to do. Say we've got do a little work on the hinges or whatever to get it so it operates a little better. So we go in here to fix doors, minimum charge for door work. Click that, and we're done. So that operates directly on the price list for all items for a given class. We could have also gone to cleaning and found perhaps a cleaning item for doors. Yeah, here's one, clean door. And that would be another way of dealing with that. Okay, we're going to go back to our sections now. And the next video will be other ways of entering data in the estimate on a template and copy basis.